I remember the exact moment I stopped being a wife. It was a Friday night. Hot summer air seeped through the open patio doors of a high-rise hotel suite overlooking the Dallas skyline. My dress, tight, black, low-cut, clung to my sweat-dampened skin. My hair was wild. My heart was wilder. And the man standing in front of me was not my husband. He kissed me before I could stop him. Before I could remember Ethan's face. Before I could remember that I wore his ring, not just on my finger, but on my soul. But I did not stop Logan. I pulled him in closer. My body had already made the decision my conscience was too afraid to admit. His hands gripped my waist like he owned me. His lips brushed against my collarbone, tracing heat across my chest, down my ribs. I moaned. Out loud. And that sound, the one I used to make only for Ethan, echoed in a room that had no business knowing that kind of sin. I betrayed my husband that night. Fully. Physically. Emotionally. And there was no going back. Before I take you deeper into this story, let me take a moment to thank all of you, my loyal subscribers, my new viewers, and those just stopping by. Your support is what fuels this channel and allows me to keep telling raw, real stories that speak to the heart. If you have not subscribed yet, I truly hope you will hit that button now. It is the fuel that keeps this channel going. Do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you have ever been close to that edge, and what pulled you back, or what pushed you over. Now let me introduce you to the people involved in this mess. I am Jessica Monroe. I am 36 years old. I live in the suburbs of Frisco, Texas. I married Ethan Monroe 11 years ago. Ethan is a good man. No, he is better than good. He is loyal, gentle, and hardworking. He teaches high school biology, volunteers at church, and makes coffee for me every morning without fail. And still, I did the unforgivable. The man I cheated with is Logan Carter. He is 38. Divorced. Owns a chain of fitness studios across Dallas. I met him at one of those upscale gyms where everyone looks like they just stepped out of a fitness commercial. I had joined to get back in shape. After 2 kids and a decade of marriage, I missed feeling desirable. But I found more than just toned abs at that gym. I found danger. I found temptation. I found Logan. At first, it was harmless flirtation. Just looks. Smirks. A hand brushing too close when helping me adjust posture during a squat. But then came the texts. The compliments. The lingering stares. It was like waking up from a sleep I did not know I had been in. Ethan had become comfortable. Predictable. There was no fire anymore. No spontaneous kisses in the kitchen. No grabbing me from behind just because he could. Our conversations revolved around bills, the kids, and whether the dog ate something weird. I missed being wanted. I missed being seen. Logan saw me. Every curve. Every crack. And he did not just look, he desired. The night it happened, Ethan was out of town at a teacher's conference. I told him I would stay home, relax, maybe catch up on laundry. He trusted me. Instead, I texted Logan. I cannot stop thinking about you. He replied immediately. Then stop trying. Come to me. I did. The hotel was his idea. Classy. Expensive. The kind of place with a rooftop bar and dimly lit elevators that made everything feel more sinful. He opened the door shirtless. I had already made up my mind in the parking garage. The first time he kissed me, I melted. The way his lips moved, hungry, slow, possessive, it undid something inside me. Something that had been untouched for years. He peeled my dress off like he was unwrapping a secret. And I let him. We did it against the glass window first, overlooking the city like rebels under the stars. Then again on the king-sized bed with silk sheets that tangled around us like lies. I screamed his name. Not once did I think of Ethan. And that was the worst part. Afterwards, we laid there in silence. I stared at the ceiling, sweat cooling on my bare stomach, Logan's hand resting on my hip like I belonged to him. I felt both powerful and destroyed. What had I just done? I slipped out of the bed and into the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. Mascara smudged. Lipstick ruined. Hair a mess. But that was not what haunted me. It was the woman staring back at me, the woman who just slept with someone else's man, while still wearing her husband's necklace. I should have felt shame. But at that moment, all I felt was heat. And then fear. Because I knew, this was not a mistake. This was a choice. I returned home the next morning before dawn. Ethan was still gone. The kids were asleep. I climbed into the shower and scrubbed myself until my skin turned red. But nothing could clean what I had done. I stood under the stream of water, and all I could hear was Logan's voice in my ear, "You deserve to feel alive." But I did not feel alive. I felt ruined. And that was only the beginning. I had never felt more exposed than I did standing in our kitchen that morning. The scent of fresh coffee filled the air, and the sound of eggs sizzling in the pan should have been comforting. But I stood there, wrapped in my robe, hair still damp from the shower I took hours ago, hoping to rinse the sin off my skin, watching Ethan hum softly to himself as if nothing had changed. He greeted me with that same sweet smile he always wore. That same damn smile he gave me when we said, "I do," under oak trees in my parents' backyard, barefoot and blissfully in love. I nodded back, barely able to meet his eyes. The guilt sat heavy in my stomach, curling like rot under my ribs. I had just betrayed this man. Violated the very vows we built a family on. And he was still making me breakfast like I was worthy of it. "Want your toast a little darker?" he asked, turning slightly to look at me. I nodded, swallowing the lump rising in my throat. How could he be so kind? So normal? So unaware of the fire I had lit beneath his life? I sipped the coffee slowly, letting it burn my tongue. Pain was easier to process than guilt. The rest of the day moved in slow, torturous fragments. I smiled at the kids. I folded laundry. I answered emails. I even laughed at a dumb TikTok one of the moms in our PDA group sent me. But every time I looked at Ethan, I saw the lie. And worse, I saw what I had ruined. Ethan had flaws, sure. He was quiet. Predictable. Sometimes emotionally distant. But he was never cruel. Never dishonest. He loved our kids. He supported my dreams. He gave me a safe life. And I had thrown it all away for the thrill of being wanted by someone else. For a night of flesh. For Logan. I could not stop thinking about him. Logan had not messaged me since I left the hotel suite. That should have been a relief. Instead, it made me feel unhinged. Like I had been tossed out of a fantasy I was not ready to leave. My phone buzzed late that night as I stood alone in the hallway. "Logan. You okay?" That was it. No apology. No guilt. No acknowledgement of the storm he helped me unleash. I stared at the message, my thumbs hovering over the screen. I could not bring myself to respond. Not yet. My eyes drifted to the living room, where Ethan sat curled on the couch, his laptop on his lap and a throw blanket tucked under his legs. He looked peaceful. Normal. Safe. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confess everything and beg for forgiveness. But I also wanted to run straight back to Logan and forget any of this ever happened. The days that followed were a blur of avoidance. I avoided Logan. I avoided Ethan. I avoided mirrors, intimacy, and anything that reminded me of who I used to be. But guilt has a voice. And it gets louder the longer you ignore it. I began to notice the small cracks forming. Ethan's eyes lingered longer on my face, like he was searching for something I had not said. He began asking more questions, casual but pointed. You okay? Seemed like you were up late last night. Something happened while I was away? I would smile, say I was tired, or stressed, or just off. He believed me. Or maybe he wanted to. But then something happened that shook the foundation of my lie. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I came home from grocery shopping and found Ethan sitting on the edge of our bed. My phone was in his hand. It had been charging on the nightstand. Unlocked. Vulnerable. He looked up slowly, and I will never forget the expression on his face. Not rage. Not suspicion. Devastation. He handed me the phone in silence. On the screen was the last text Logan had sent me. The one I never answered. You okay? Ethan's voice broke the air. Who is Logan? His voice was calm, so calm it terrified me. My knees buckled, and I sat down beside him, trembling. I did not try to lie. I could not. I cheated on you. I said it. Just like that. Ethan stared at the floor. His hands clenched in his lap. He did not speak for several seconds that stretched out like years. Was it just once? He asked, barely above a whisper. Yes. Another silence. Then, with a trembling breath, he said, Did you love him? My stomach twisted. I looked down at my hands, at the gold band still on my finger. No. That was the truth. I never loved Logan. I loved the way he made me feel. I loved the attention. The fantasy. The power. But not him. Ethan nodded slowly, still not looking at me. Then he stood up. I need to go for a drive, he said. And just like that, he was gone. I sat in our bedroom alone, trying to breathe, trying to exist in the aftermath of my truth. The kids were downstairs watching cartoons. The world outside kept spinning. But inside me, everything collapsed. I had never felt so small. So hollow. So ashamed. I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself again in the mirror, just like I had that night in the hotel suite. But this time, I saw the woman who broke the one man who never would have broken her. The doorbell rang a few minutes later. I opened it without checking who it was. And there stood Logan. Shirt tight across his chest, arms crossed, that smug grin that used to thrill me now made me nauseous. I figured you might want to talk, he said. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. What are you doing here? I whispered. I missed you, he said. I laughed. A bitter, sharp laugh. You missed the sex. He shrugged. It was good. Best I have had in a while. You cannot say you did not feel it too. I looked at him, this man who had once made me feel so alive, and I saw him for what he really was. A trigger. A fantasy. A walking mistake. I told my husband, I said. He blinked. That wiped the grin off his face. You serious? I nodded. He knows everything. Logan glanced back at his car. Well, that is your mess now, not mine. I expected that. And somehow, it still hurt. You need to leave, I said. He shook his head and smirked. You are going to miss me. He was wrong. I walked back inside, closed the door, and locked it. Then I sank to the floor and let myself break. Because the man I had hurt the most was still out there, trying to figure out if he could ever look at me the same way again. And I had no idea if I deserved to be forgiven. But I knew this, whatever came next. I had to face it. Alone. Ethan did not come home that night. I laid awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun in endless, mocking circles. The silence in our house was unbearable. It was the kind that echoed. The kind that told you someone you loved was bleeding somewhere, and it was your hand holding the knife. I had thought confessing would ease the weight on my chest. It did not. It made it heavier. Realer. Because now, there was no lie to hide behind. Only the raw truth between us, like broken glass neither of us could step over without bleeding. He finally came home the next morning, just after 6. He looked like he had not slept. His eyes were red. His face drawn. And in his hands were his keys, a small duffel bag, and the framed photo from our wedding day. He did not say a word. Just walked to our bedroom, grabbed a few shirts, a pair of jeans, and a black hoodie I used to steal on cold mornings. When he zipped up the bag, I finally found my voice. Please, do not go. He stood there for a moment, shoulders tense, back still turned to me. Then he spoke. I do not know who you are right now, Jessica. And I need to figure out if I can still love the woman you have become. I took a step forward, but he stopped me with a raised hand. I am not leaving forever, he said. But I cannot look at you and not see him. Not yet. My knees weakened beneath me. I made a mistake, Ethan. A horrible, selfish mistake. But it did not mean I stopped loving you. He looked me dead in the eyes. But it meant you forgot how to respect me. He left. And that was the day my marriage broke. The days that followed were a hell I deserved. I tried to stay strong for the kids. Smiling through the guilt. Holding it together during homework, dinner, and bedtime stories. But the nights? The nights destroyed me. I cried into his pillow. I screamed into my hands. I dug my fingers into the sheets and prayed, for mercy, for time, for a second chance. And then, I made the worst decision of all. I went back to Logan. Not for sex. Not for comfort. But for answers. I needed to know why I let myself fall. Why I had burned down my life for a man who vanished the second things got real. He met me at the same hotel bar where it had all started. Same corner booth. Same dark lighting. Same scent of regret. But something was different about him. He was nervous. Twitchy. His eyes kept darting to the entrance like he was expecting someone else. Why did you come? I asked. He took a long sip of whiskey. You said you wanted answers. Why did you chase me when you knew I was married? He smirked. Because women like you are easy targets. I blinked. What? You want to feel alive. Desired. Seen. You think no one notices, but I do. The way you bite your lip at the gym. The way your eyes linger on the mirror. You are waiting for someone to pull you out of your perfect little housewife life. You are disgusting, I whispered. He shrugged. You came to me. Remember? I stood up, heart racing. You used me. No, he said. We used each other. The only difference is, you had something to lose. I did not. Then he added one more thing. Your husband came to see me. That stopped me cold. What? Last week. Before you confessed. He found my address. Said he knew. Asked me one question. My voice trembled. What did he ask? Logan stared at his glass. He asked if I loved you. I could barely breathe. And what did you say? I told him no. He leaned back, cold and unaffected. Because I didn't. I stumbled out of that bar, shaking. Ethan knew before I told him. He had looked me in the eye, held my hand, and waited for me to come clean. He gave me a chance. And I failed him. I drove straight to my parents' house and collapsed in my mother's arms like a child. I had not done that in years. She did not ask questions. Just held me. And for the first time in weeks, I let someone see me fall apart completely. 3 weeks passed. No word from Ethan. Just short texts about the kids. Logistics. Nothing personal. Then came the email. Subject, counseling or closure. Inside was a single paragraph. Jessica, I have spoken to a therapist. She says we should meet, either to begin the process of rebuilding, or to say goodbye properly. I am willing to try once. But I need the truth. All of it. Not just what you think I can handle. My hands shook as I typed my reply. I agreed. We met that Saturday in a therapist's office downtown. Neutral walls. Neutral chairs. Neutral air. But nothing about that hour was neutral. I told him everything. How I felt invisible. How I felt unwanted. How Logan made me feel seen again. How I hated myself for enjoying it. I sobbed. I shook. I begged. And Ethan? He just listened. At the end, the therapist asked him how he felt. He stared at the floor for a long time. Then he looked up and said the words I will never forget. I love her. But I do not trust her. We did not leave together that day. We agreed to keep trying counseling. For ourselves. For the kids. But I knew deep down. I had already lost him. The spark was gone. The foundation cracked. And trust? That is not something you can rebuild in therapy. That is something you carry in your bones, or you don't. Months later, Ethan officially moved into his own apartment. We remained friendly. Co-parents. Civil. But the silence between us was no longer temporary. It was permanent. I see him now, sometimes, at the kids' soccer games. He laughs a little less. Smiles a little softer. And I wonder, if he looks at me and still sees the woman who betrayed him, or just the ghost of someone he used to love. As for Logan, I blocked him. Deleted every photo. Every message. Every trace. But sometimes I still wake up in cold sweats, hearing his voice whispering that awful truth. We used each other. The only difference is, you had something to lose. He was right. I lost my marriage. I lost my best friend. I lost myself. I did something unforgivable. And I live with that truth every single day. But if you are watching this and you are on the edge, thinking about crossing that line, do not. Because the high lasts one night. But the fallout? That stays with you forever.